Studios. It's Intercounty Tuesday. Heather has made herself available to us today by coming over all dressed up for our Christmas party. Unfortunately, it's not ours.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But you look nice. You look very nice.
well, thank you.
Yeah. And she did come bringing gifts, which is always nice.
And some yummy chocolates. Those
That's
are
always a nice
I
gift.
know, it's like a peace offering. I could have been late today and still been okay if I would
Yeah.
have brought chocolates.
Yeah, that would have been okay. But it would have been okay. All right, very good. Well, anyway, our friends from Intercounty always come on our second Tuesday of the month. Been doing this, I don't even remember how many years, but it's been
Long
20, I'm pretty
time?
sure, close to, if it hasn't been longer.
Oh,
A
wow.
long time.
I knew it was a long time, but I wouldn't have guessed 20 years.
And Dwayne was doing it. And
Yeah, that's true.
so, yeah, they were doing it long before. Well, I can tell you this. When 9/11 hit, Intercounty was being interviewed here.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know
Yes. So that's at least
that. Since
20 years
2001,
ago.
yeah.
So, yeah, long time.
Well,
Long time. So you're just keeping the tradition alive.
that's kind of an interesting little tidbit, isn't it?
Yeah, because when Melva came in, Dwayne was here and Lisa was here, and she said plane hit the twin tower, hit one of the towers of the World Trade Building, and I remember. I'm thinking, a little biplane somehow got over there, got lost. Maybe it was crashing. Who knows? But
Right. Not
so
thinking
that
terrorist
shit,
attack.
yeah, I'm not thinking it's an airliner.
Right.
And she didn't say it was an airliner. She said a plane. That's the one I was thinking of. And then, of course, we
Yeah.
knew better within about 20 minutes.
Right.
But yes,
Well,
how about that? What a memory, huh?
yeah.
That was a very interesting day. Very interesting time, as a matter of fact, too. Which I'm hoping we never have again.
Absolutely
No,
hope we don't ever
never
have
have
again. Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, at least we don't want to have one of those when we're talking about capital credits.
I know, capital credit. That's a good thing to talk
Capital
about.
credits. Oh, that's always a good thing. You come at Christmas time. It's like the CCC, Capital Credits Christmas. It doesn't get much better than that.
Pretty good.
Unless
Check in the mail.
unless you have rebates
We
as
do.
well.
Well, I mean, we always have a rebate program.
but I meant like a rebate on your electric usage, which you don't have.
Oh, you're talking like a discount that we've
Yeah,
done in
no,
the
I'm
past.
talking like a rebate. If you use so much electric this year, we're going to give you $150,000 back. We're going to split it between 2 million people, so you're going to see a 3-cent change. No, I don't know. Anyway, but yes, capital credits. Tell us a little bit about the capital credits, would you please?
Absolutely. So capital credits, if you're not familiar, that is, they're unique to co-ops. Co-ops are not for profit, and anytime we make more than what we need to operate, those margins, if you will, they're allocated back to our members based on their total consumption. So you and I, we use different amounts of electricity in our home. So our capital credit refund checks are going to be a different amount because they're based on what we've used, our portion of what we used in comparison to the total.
And that's not like last week.
No, that's, yeah, no, we're a little bit more behind than that. But each year our board takes a look at the financial condition of the co-op, and then they decide if they're going to be able to retire any of those or to pay those out. And this year, what we're paying out, it sounds a little confusing because there's a lot of dates, but we're paying out the remaining capital credits from 2001, and we're starting in on
We
paying
already
out.
brought up 2001.
We did, yeah. And then we're going to start on paying back 2002 capital credits. Now, also, and this wasn't in the article, but Show Me Power, our power provider, they have paid back some transmission capital credits in the past.
Okay.
And they did pay back some to the co-ops from 1998. And those are in the mix also. So if you had service with the co-op in 98, 2001, or 2002, then you will have capital credits owed to you that are going to be coming back. So, like I said, I know a little confusing, several years there, but those are the years that we're going to be paying out.
Very good.
Those 3 years make up a total of $3 million that's going to be returned to the members. And hopefully those checks will go out later this week. If not, they'll be beginning of next week.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. So,
Not for Christmas shopping, but for Christmas.
to recover from Christmas, maybe.
Well, it might be.
Taxes.
Yeah,
We get a lot
might
of.
help with those last-minute shoppers, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or you just take it and sign it over and give it to Salvation Army.
You could.
What a great idea. Gosh, I have good ideas.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that donate those. We have some members that
Just
are
donate
previous
it
members.
back
They
to
donate it
Roundup,
back
don't
to
they?
Roundup.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
that's a great idea.
Yep, that's kind of growing in popularity, especially with families who the parents have passed, and there's several remaining children, and they're like, well, how do you split it 4 ways?
$1.88 each, right?
It could be.
Yeah.
But they've just decided to allocate that to
Which
Operation Roundup.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really nice gesture, and it goes to a great program. While we're talking about capital credits, one of the big things that I want to say about that is please make sure your mailing addresses are current.
You mean people don't stay the same place as they were in 1998 and
They
2001 and
don't.
2002?
And not only do they not stay in the same place, but they don't let us know they've moved.
What?
Which is understandable. I mean, who thinks to notify your previous utility provider that you've moved again?
Again and again and again. You might
Right.
have moved 5 or 6 times.
It's possible, yeah. Chances are, if you're a current member, we've got your address. I suppose we could have a bad address if someone is paperless billing and maybe they've went to P.O. box instead of physical. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Say if you're a current member, I'm pretty sure they have a good address.
Right. Chances are that we do. It would be a really odd situation if we didn't. But where the problem lies is where, we mentioned when people move off the system, and sometimes they've moved a long ways away, maybe out of state or farther from the co-op, but a lot of times they've just moved into the city. They've moved out of the rural area. They moved into a city that's served by a city utility. And so we don't have their address, but they are still close. We publish a list each year in the summer in the Rural Missouri magazine, and it's a long list of small
It's
printed
very small
names.
print.
And those are all people that have checks that are getting ready to expire. Those checks are good for 2 years, and then they expire. So what we send out what we send out this month, that's
I know what
a
you
little
mean.
ahead of myself there,
You-
but
today meaning this time period.
this go round of capital credit checks, they will be valid for 2 years, and then after that they're retired and they go back into the pool for that year of profit, if you will.
Yeah.
They're reallocated back to the members that year.
So one thing that came up, and the last time we talked about it, and I didn't bring this up to you, but I was reviewing a few things here not too long ago, and about 7 or 8 years ago, the Postal Service came and rechanged the entire address system in Dent County.
In Dent County, they did, yeah.
And some of those
Twice,
that were old,
didn't they? Did you guys
they
say?
did. Well, they did twice, but
Yeah.
they did one time, and that one didn't take very well, so let's change it again.
Tried it again.
But yeah, so anyhow, when they finally got the final addressing system down, when they did the 9/11 updates, and so they finally got that system in, and the Postal Service went with those new addresses. Nobody in 2001 had that address.
That's a really great point.
So anybody up to about 2009, probably, if you had an old HCR address, that's going nowhere. It's going right back to Intercounty, and they're saying, never heard of it, don't know what you're talking about. Because it was about 11, 12, 13 years ago that this all started to change. And it all changed due to 911 when the county got the new 911 system in. So when they did that, they got the rural addressing system. They had to update the rural addressing system, which, by the way, our friends down at Healthy Dent County, they take care of new rural addresses. Well, they can go back to the very first day when they work with this company to get all this done. And then they submitted all those addresses to the Postal Service. I think it took like 2 years for them to accept them all. It was a long process.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it would happen very quickly.
No, it wasn't. And then they still had some in the wrong county.
Huh.
Imagine that. Wrong zip code,
Yeah.
So, anyhow, if you were affected by that, and you are today and you're still an Intercounty customer, well, now your new address is on file with Intercounty, because they would send them, when they sent the checks out and things, They send them, this address has been changed to.
Right.
And that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No.
They won't do that
No.
for the next 12, 15, 20 years. I don't know why they limit it to 6 months. I think 20 years is fine. But think about it. But that, when you brought that up, and I was thinking, you know what? I bet you, and this has probably happened in other counties as well, not just Dent County, but I do know it happened here. But I'm sure it's probably happened in some other counties that Intercounty or other co-ops service,
Yeah.
and those people will never know. Unless you absolutely know them and they contact you personally and say, that's my money.
Which is what we hope people are going to do.
Well, which is what you hope. But you can understand where the dilemma comes in, where if you're on HC 32, I have no idea where that is. And then all of a sudden that's County Road 2142 and the house number there, but HC 32 didn't tell me a thing.
Right. It doesn't exist anymore.
No, and it's going to be a little bit difficult. So, definitely want to make sure. And I'm sure if you knew what your account number was back then, it would be great. Might
We
help
can
out a lot.
we can look it up by
I-
name.
I
You don't
know,
even have to.
I know, but if you
remember
did
your
know,
old address.
that might be a little easier to identify yourself.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the whole thing with the rural addressing, my point is, those addresses, there's no way Intercounty would know, and there's no way they can get a new address for you on their own.
Yeah.
You're going to have to contact them on your own, and if you don't, that fine print's just going to get smaller.
Yeah, the list gets longer. Something we're adding this year, if you will, maybe adding something new. I mentioned we've got the list that each summer that has the names of
You have the
who's
book.
going to expire.
It's
The
not a
book,
list.
yeah, a book.
It's a
That's
book.
that's a better description. Those are checks that are getting ready to expire. What we're putting together this week, and it should be on our website about the same time those checks are mailed. We've put together a list of names from this round of checks that we're not even mailing. We're not attempting to mail them out
okay, yeah.
because the past 2 years have come back. So instead of paying the postage to mail those out and attempting to deliver them when we know it's the same address that was last year and last year the check was returned to us, we're just keeping those in the office, but we're going to publish that list of names. And so then we've got extra time, if you will. We've got 2 years. Hopefully somebody will hop online and look at that list. And
So tell me, and you may not know this, so how many of these accounts that you see there every year, same names are there? How many of them actually come off the list? How many actually get in touch with you?
Every year?
About percentage-wise.
I don't even have a ballpark clue, but I will find out.
I just thought it might be interesting because it seems like the book has gotten thicker.
It's not getting shorter.
No.
That'd be interesting to know. We could run a report and find out.
Well, I find it interesting if it's 2%, 3%.
Yeah.
Because again, with a lot of these addresses from these old days, there's just no way of knowing unless those people actually know that they've got money coming and somebody tells them. There's no way they would know.
Yeah. And our members are really good. We mentioned that if you're a current member, chances are we're going to have your address. You're going to get your check.
Absolutely. Your members are good. They're all good.
They are,
wonderful.
absolutely. But they're good to help us because they'll go through that list, even though they're already getting their capital credit check. But they go through that. It's alphabetized by last name. And they look for family and friends, and they'll notify them. And,
Sure.
They stay in touch where we won't know how to get a hold of them. They can send them a message and say, hey, your name's in the Intercounty paper. You got money owed to you. And then that person is able to reach out to us.
Okay, so we need to also qualify that. This does not show up in unclaimed property through the state.
That's correct.
So this will not show up there. So if you think, well, I've done that. I've gone to unclaimed property and I've looked for it. Well, it doesn't show up there.
Yeah.
This is within the co-op itself.
That's
not
right.
Not
Good point.
Not
That's a
state
good point.
funds. We brought up a lot of good points on
We
that
did,
today.
I know.
We have solved a lot of world problems already today. We've only been doing this 10 minutes.
I know, right? And we have
Yeah.
a good question to look into, too. So I'm curious now.
Well,
also.
it is a good question because we need to know what the kind of return is, what we're getting,
Yeah.
and there's another way of doing this, and I don't know how it would be because you can't send out to old addresses as Intercounty has done.
They just come back.
They just come right back, and then you're wasting a lot of postage. And postage is not cheap.
Right. And when you know it's going to come right back,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense just to sort those and keep those in the office.
Yeah.
And we do have them. So if your name's on that list, we've got it. We'll just readdress that and pop it in the mail, and we
There you
update
go.
your address on file. So your future capital credits will come to you no problem. You won't have to worry about updating it each year unless you move again. But we'll keep the current one on file and use that one until you tell us it's changed again.
So let's have all of our listeners. Let's try like a pyramid deal. Let's have every one of our listeners look at the Intercounty Book of non-capital credit receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find one name, then
Maybe they can find one too.
contact that person and have them find another name. And maybe it's two names they can find, and it just keeps growing, maybe a little bit bigger. But never stop looking. I know I've looked on there, and I've seen some names on there I recognize. Unfortunately, the people were gone, but I don't know where their survivors are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's tough. And that brings up another valid point. If there's a name on there of someone and they have passed on, those capital credits can go to the family. And I think a lot of times the surviving family, they don't realize that. They think, oh, well, that was when it was in mom and dad's name. They don't have service anymore. We can't cash a check in mom and dad's name. Well, we can get it changed so that it goes to the surviving family members. Wow. And we kind of touched on it earlier. We can split it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of situations where we do. The family just decides that it's easiest if it's split 2 or 3 different ways. Some families kind of solve that on their own, and they're like, well, we'll just...
That's Uncle Bob.
That goes to Uncle Bob, and no big deal. But at any rate, it can be dispersed to family, whether it's
There's
one
a form to
individual.
fill out. It's
There
pretty
is. There's an
simple.
affidavit that we ask you to sign and send back in, but it's not just lost. That was if it was your mom or dad's or whoever's.
Or grandma or grandpa. Could be anybody. So,
Yep.
But again, if you do know of somebody, it would really behoove and help out Intercounty. If you're sitting there on a rainy day, and we're going to have a couple rainy, windy days, you really don't want to get out there. You're going to lose your hat. You're going to get dust in your eyes. You're going to get rained on. You're going to get wet. Why not do the right thing and look at the Intercounty list / book of those people that are not able to retrieve their checks for one reason or another. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody give you a call or find you or befriend you on Facebook or know who you are and suddenly get a message from them saying, you've got money, better than you got mail.
Right.
You got money. It's another M word, but it's a lot more potent.
And it's highly likely that if you're on this list of checks that are not being mailed out this month, because we know we have bad addresses, you probably have last year's check from 2001 that is still sitting, waiting to have a good address.
I know.
You may have one coming next year. Then, I mean, it's not just the one check that's listed a lot of times. It's
the daily double.
It's the ones that haven't expired yet, and it's the future ones to come.
So you
it's
get
worth
a
it.
double powerful whammy.
But it's your money. That's the thing.
What is your money?
It's
but
your portion of the earnings for that year that we had service.
So do the right thing. And again, just check over the names. I know I do. There's people names in there I never ever heard of. But it's not just Dent County, guys. It's all the Intercounty service territory. So remember to look through that. But I did want to bring that up to you because I do know that's probably quite a few people from the early 2000s that their address when they were there had one of those real funky addresses, and you're never going to find them.
Right. That's a valid point because we're right at that year.
Yeah.
That time frame.
So yes. All right. Well, very good. Well, that's all.
It's a lot about capital credits.
Well, it's a
wasn't it?
lot about capital credits, and those checks will be coming out, so you should get them just in time to pay all your property taxes.
You made
Well,
that
maybe not.
sound.
Not all. Maybe a small
Oh,
portion.
all. Yeah, that was a key word. No.
No? Won't happen?
For most, probably not.
All right, very good. That's all right. Still, it helps.
It does.
Any little bit helps.
It does.
All right, and if you happen to get an envelope, and I do know some of the new postal machinery they have out there, they do tend to rip them. If you get one that's just totally ripped up and they send it back in a nice baggie,
We've got some of those in the office before.
I bet. Please contact Intercounty
Yeah.
and let them know that you have received the check, but it is damaged and you cannot.
If the bank won't accept it, we
In
can
your best effort, you're not going to be able to tape it back together. And even if you do, the bank may sit there and go, "I can't accept one with 35 pieces of tape on it."
No idea why.
Won't go through their machine, so
Yeah.
then they'll,
Yeah.
or may give you that deposit 12 or 15 times, and they won't like that either. That won't make them happy. All right. So again, just anything with your check that you get, if there's a problem with it, if it's like I said, damaged, and we do see that. I think I see more mail getting damaged now than I ever did before. Make sure that you get with Intercounty and they can replace that check if it has been torn, ripped, disintegrated, rained on, whatever. There's weird things that happen.
There are,
Just
yep.
some weird things. Okay, very good. So capital credits, yay! Always like capital
I
credits.
know. Good stuff.
So we're getting ready to start a new year, but before we do the new year, we still have people that are putting Christmas lights up. I saw them this past weekend. I've seen some new lights up. People say, "How can you tell they're new lights?" Because they're super bright. Okay, and they're put around trees that never had lights on them before, and you can tell. Trust me, you really can tell the old lights versus the new ones. Just a little difference in the brightness of these lights.
I think more people decorated this year than.
They seem to have this year.
Yeah,
I
I sort
agree
of
with you.
noticed that too.
Not as many, I think, as in years past, but it is back on the right track and getting more out there. And with the LED lights, Heather, the cost to do the lighting of your home
Right.
has decreased greatly.
Right. The cost to run those during the Christmas season is drastically less than it was with the old lights.
Yeah, and some of them are selling the LED lights on a sale, trying to get them moved off the shelves. So you might be able to save. So head on out to the stores if you're looking for that. If you happen to be looking for that, if you're looking online, you're probably not going to get a discount. You're not going to find a deal yet.
Yeah,
Probably not till after Christmas. But if you are in some of the stores where they're trying to get ready for next spring already.
I know. Valentine's stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's wrong. It's like when there's Christmas stuff out at Halloween
I
time.
mean, at Labor Day?
Yeah, that's
There
even
is a
farther
Labor
back.
Day, trust me.
That's something.
Yeah. But anyway, so just a kind of an idea. But LED lights have changed a lot of what the cost used to be. However, we still want to remind people, if you love Christmas decorations, I really would love to be able to show you my nephew's Griswold Christmas. He does this every year.
Oh, wow.
He added a new 25-foot Santa to his collection. Melba can tell you about my nephew. He's a nut when it comes to Christmas.
25
foot he put in his front yard. A blow-up Santa, 25 feet. Now,
You're
this is
interested,
up in Michigan.
You're interested in the usage.
Well, not only the usage, I'm interested in seeing this in front of his house, but because he's got other blow-ups there as well.
That's a
Reindeer,
massive
he's got
blow-up yard
Frosties, he's got all kinds of neat stuff. But he's a nut when it comes to Christmas, okay? So he got this new one. But I was thinking, okay, these inflatables, they don't run with LED lights.
No, there's a motor.
Yeah, there's
for
a
that
blower somewhere.
Blower, and it's running. If it's inflated and it's standing,
And it's 25 feet.
it's on.
Oh, yeah. I bet it takes a while to fill that up with air.
I want to see a picture. You have to get a picture of this.
I don't. Sherry has one down at the community center at the Armory.
Huh.
You run down there on your way out of town. Ask her to show the
Like,
Summers
I need a-
Griswold yard. She'll know exactly.
I need to
He's
see
got a
picture
video. I mean,
of the 25-foot
yeah,
Santa.
oh yeah, brand new this year.
Wow.
His edition this year.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was cheap. I'm sure it wasn't. No, but he's added and added and added and added. So when people do that, obviously they still have some old lights. They have new lights. They have inflatables.
Right.
Well, yeah, you're going to have an increase in your electric usage.
Well, anytime you plug in something new, even if it's an energy efficient something, the LED light strip or a new, maybe you add a refrigerator. I say add because most of the time when somebody gets a new refrigerator, the old one goes out to the garage. So you're not actually getting rid of one. Or basement. But, anytime you add something new, even if it is an efficient appliance or string of lights or whatever, that's additional usage.
Mm-hmm.
And it does add up, but the efficient options are much better to add because they don't use as much.
Well, anything new is going to be much more efficient than it was years ago.
That's right.
But also, one of the things that I wanted to bring out with the Christmas lights, and obviously, especially the outdoor lights, and we don't talk too much about it because most of them do have fuses and things in their plugs now. So if they do get shorted out, bang, and if you have a GFCI, bang, you'll shut it off.
Right.
But look at the condition of the lines, because a lot of times they get pulled, and you'll see it right at where the light
starts to separate.
They'll start to pull. You might see a little discoloration. Normally they're green. They kind of blend in with trees. Trees are not green in the wintertime, except an evergreen. That'd be the only one. But they're usually green colored, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you look there and you got a little white or a little yellow on a little bit of where it should be green, you're probably starting to pull out of your light socket. So one of the things you want to do is if that does become wires, you've got potential for a problem. Now, again, GFCIs have helped that. So if you get a short, bang, it shuts off. So you don't do a lot of damage. But if you don't have those, if you have an older house or you have it plugged in and you have bypassed the GFCI, and people do that, you could be in for a problem. And especially with outdoor lights, that becomes a major problem.
Right. And that's part of why we tell you to make sure you're inspecting those cords, the lights. Anytime you've got something that you've put up, you've not used, you get back out. We talk about that when we talk about boat dock safety even.
We do.
You've not used that all winter and things shift and change and then wires can become exposed. Same with your Christmas lights. You're putting them up, taking them down, storing them, taking them back out. If you have exposed wires, that's definitely a safety hazard. So
especially people who wind them up, and that's usually what happens. You wind them up. But think about the day you were taking down those Christmas lights. And most people like to try and do it on a good day, right?
Ideally, yes.
That's the ideal thing. But if you had to take it down on a windy, nasty, cold day or whatever, and maybe you're pulling a little harder, you might have some damage to those lights if you haven't put them up yet. And even though you wound them up and did everything like you normally did, maybe a little bit more of a hurry and you started yanking. Instead of pulling the plug out, you yanked on it, got out of there. And these things all happen.
And sometimes, normal wear and tear.
Yes, and the more years you use it, the better chance this has of happening. So again, take a look at those lights. Make sure you have, first off, make sure you have a light in every one of the sockets. Even if it's out, make sure you have a light in the socket.
Right. Keep that
from
being
shorting
exposed.
out.
Yeah.
And then make sure, if you can, to make sure that those wires are all going into the socket cleanly. And if you have one that comes out and you think you're an electrician enough that you want to go cut that socket out and you want to replace it and tape the wires together, okay, you better think twice because some of those don't work that way.
I don't think my lights would work at all if I tried to do that.
No. You see usually, and now a lot of them are continuous. So, if your one light goes out, that whole portion of that light string goes out. So, oopsie.
Right.
A lot of problems.
Double it up when you wrap it around the tree.
Yeah. Well, it's just the way it kind of works. Most of them are done that way, and it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, saves effort, usually. But doesn't save you money when you can't find the one bulb that controls the whole string. I've had those 100 string lights
for a while, doesn't it?
100 string lights were controlled by each bulb. If one bulb went out, the whole thing was dead. There's a beautiful string of lights too.
Swap out each one until you find it, huh?
Yeah. Well, then sometimes the bulbs all are fitting in a socket, but the wires underneath over time the bulb has come out a little bit, so the wire barely out
not
the
getting a
bottom.
good
It's just
connection.
not making a connection. So even though it looks good, it's solidly set, the bulb might be coming out just a little. And those, when they put the wires in, some are way too long and they actually stick out of it, and others way too short.
Yeah.
They don't make a connection. Be careful. Just be careful with those wires. And I say it for the outside especially, but for the inside as well, because a lot of people put tinsel or maybe wrap it with some of that beautiful pine that's out there. They might try and wrap it around pine or wrap it around some pine cones and things of that nature and put it right on the light. And of course, again, be careful, because if it's electric and it has a long time to sit there, could create a bit of a problem. How about ideal Christmas gifts?
Ideal Christmas gifts, Energy Star, anything.
Yes.
If you're going with electronics, which seems to sort of be the trend. Everybody wants something that plugs in. It's got a charger. It needs to be powered. So
The big electronics, a lot of times you can get yourself a nice Christmas gift by getting a rebate.
you can, yeah.
Wouldn't that be a nice gift?
And we're extending our rebate program again into the next year. So we'll have that full rebate program. All the details will be in the January Roll Missouri, but we're just going to have water heater rebates, heat pump rebates, so smart thermostat, window air conditioning units. All the rebates that we had last year we're carrying forward into
Wouldn't that be a
2022.
good Christmas gift?
It is, if it's something you've got to replace anyway, to get an extra rebate on that really just kind of helps soften the blow, if you will, of
No,
having
a little
to purchase
homework
that.
doesn't hurt, does
Yeah.
it? A little homework.
Yep.
But before you buy,
Make sure you look at those minimum requirements. That's a very valid point because, for example, our water heater rebates, the minimum efficiency rating on the water heater, the new one that you're purchasing, has to be at least a 0.9. So if you
that has changed
go
over the years.
and purchase, it has. If you go and purchase one and it's a 85% efficient, you're going to miss out on that rebate. So you do want to make sure you know those minimum requirements so that if you're having to purchase it, you're going to make sure you're eligible for that rebate. And it may be that the more efficient one is a little bit more costly. And the true purpose of the rebate program is to help you make the more efficient purchase decision, and the rebate then covers the cost difference for buying a less efficient one, and then you save in the long run.
That's the key.
That savings racks up.
Yeah.
It does make a difference over time. So
You may pay a little more now, but you're going to save a lot more later.
yeah, and hopefully that rebate covers the cost of having to pay a little
That's
bit more.
the idea.
Yeah.
That's the good idea. So again, that's just an idea. Check on that rebate program before you buy. If you need to, do not listen to the salesperson who says this qualifies for that.
Yeah, they may not know.
It may have at one time, but it may not now. So make sure before you put that credit card out or your check or cash or whatever you're paying for that with, and you put that, make sure you get that rebate from Intercounty and go in there. You can go on the website. You can take a look at it right there with your phone. You can go to IECA.coop.
That's right.
And it's right there, and then you can look at it and say, does this mean that? And
Right.
stick it right there.
I need it to be this.
Yeah, and then they'll say, gulp, well, one number off. Well, one number off is
Makes
one
a
number
difference.
off, and you won't get it. So definitely want to make sure that you're paying a good attention before you buy those, when you're shopping for those
Right.
rebates that you can get, your different appliances and things that you can save on those. Make sure you make sure they're up to date. 'Cause I think they change. Don't they change in February? I mean, don't they kind
the
of relist
rebates?
them in February? Don't they do that?
Well, in the past, sometimes we haven't been able to share those until February,
Because you
just
didn't
because our
know.
magazine is 2 months behind the published date.
Yeah.
But we do have that already, so it'll be in the January one.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Yeah, you guys get spiffy here.
Right.
Yeah, all
We're-
right. Okay, so very good. So you can find out right away. Get those rebates.
Yes,
Take advantage of it. That's Intercounty's way of saying thank you.
that's right.
It is. Nice feather in the cap, little perk there.
Something that I want to touch on, and you made me think of it.
Ooh,
Well,
I
are we?
made you think
You did
of
make
it.
me think of it. You were talking about salesmen,
Yes.
and that sometimes they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it qualifies for any Intercounty's rebate program." Something we've recently been having a really difficult time with, and hopefully the members that listen to this radio program are not those members because we talk about this frequently. With generators, we're having a real issue with electricians that are installing double throws. They're installing those transfer switches, and they're not contacting the co-op ahead of time. The members just having that done on their own. They're having that installed, and the electrician is telling them, oh yeah, we'll just pull the meter and we'll get this installed and then hook it back up. And that's not something that we've traditionally heard happens a whole lot, but it has in the past probably 2 or 3 months happened a handful of times. And our servicemen have shared that that's kind of a growing concern, is that electrician, not that they're not qualified to do their job, they may be wiring it correctly, but you have to make sure, first of all, Intercounty handles that meter. Period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's not being pulled or handled by anyone, qualified electrician or not. That is just for Intercounty employees. That's a responsibility we have. There's a lot of electricity flowing through there, and we don't want to see anybody hurt. Those little red tags are on the meters. Those are kind of our tampering tag.
And their little lock tags, yeah.
We know. And potentially the member could be charged a meter tampering fee. Now, we've understood that kind of what's going on and given a warning, I believe, but you cannot be messing with that. And even if you're just like the salesperson telling you that the rebate qualifies, just because your electrician is telling you, no, it's fine, I do this all the time, I'm just going to install it, I'll take care of it. Reach out to us and let us know. Let us be a part of that when you're
Your
taking
electrician
care of,
should anyway.
They should. But if they don't, then please make sure you're keeping us on the same page. And we talk about that. If you're purchasing a generator, let us know. Let us be part of that planning process. That way we can make sure you have the right safety equipment out there to prevent backfeed and keep your things that you're plugging in at home safe. But don't always trust, I should say, what that salesperson or the electrician or whomever it might be. Give Intercounty a call. We'll help you with your rebates. We'll help you with getting safety equipment for your generator, whatever it might be. But give us a call and let us be a part of that.
Well, I'd want my electrician to contact Intercounty anyway. It used to be a list of electricians Intercounty sent you when you called to ask who could install this.
Yeah, and we don't have that anymore. That became really difficult to maintain.
It's hard to keep. Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
Because it changes all the time.
And I don't. One of the electricians, they did call. They called and said, hey, I'm going to be pulling this.
Well, call and say, do I need to do anything to pull this meter? And if they say, don't touch it.
Then don't touch it. And this one didn't. He didn't. As soon as he called, he's like, oh, I didn't know. So hopefully our servicemen are being able to kind of spread that word in the field, and the people that work on stuff like that will hear from one another that, hey, you got to make sure you call Intercounty. But as a member, when you're having work done, just make sure you reach out and give us a call.
Very good. It's a good idea. Very good idea. Or, by the way, if you do happen to see a meter that gets damaged, I know a lot of people's children like to use them as target practice with BB guns and things occasionally. Arrows, I've seen one, they barely missed mine.
Really?
Yes, well, somebody kind of uses our transmitter building out there for a backstop for their practice, where they put their archery target up. Well, right to the right of that is the pole with the meter on it.
So somebody was a little off target.
Just a little. They missed by that much, but got the pole about an inch and a half right above the meter.
Oh, no.
Sting.
Yeah,
I
hadn't heard that before.
That's not a good thing to have happen, but accidents do happen. So if you see a damaged meter, don't play with it. If you see one that's gotten hit by maybe a bullet, maybe a BB, something that's cracked, call Intercounty. Do not try and change it. Do not, don't go put duct tape on it. Just call them.
Yeah.
We
will eventually find that it was damaged. So if you could let us know as soon as you see it damaged, we can get out there and get it replaced.
Well,
and
Heather,
make
one
sure
of the
it's
things
safe.
that I know that we have automatic meter readings, and it's wonderful to have those, but people should still go read their meters. Not every month, maybe,
Right.
but occasionally you should go out there and just see if that meter is looking like it's working properly. Maybe it got damaged by wind. We've had some high winds. Maybe something got in the air, came over and smacked that meter, and maybe it's just a little off the base, still working properly, but somewhere down the road that could create a problem.
It could.
And so you need to go check your meters. Go look at your meter. See if the meter reading is close to what's on your automatic meter reading. It's not going to be the same, obviously, because a few days have gone by the time you take a look at it. But still, it's a good idea to make sure that meter is in good shape. Because that's what you're paying off of, whether you think it's okay or not. But if you see a bill raise a little bit, maybe you might just want to go take a look. You never know.
You don't, and I would have never guessed an arrow
Well,
in the
I
pole
wouldn't have
by
guessed
the meter.
an arrow
So
either.
yeah, but good idea
And,
to.
and I'm sitting there going, no, I've seen the target back there. They
Yeah.
leave it there, and then they come and get it, and then they'll be back there, and then
Yeah.
well, okay, and then when you see the edge of an arrow that was sticking in the pole, now
Makes
whether
sense.
that was a miss or they tried to hit it, I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
Fortunately, it didn't damage the meter. That's the good
Well,
thing.
yeah,
So.
well, it did stick in the pole though, so right above the meter. So good thing it wasn't below the meter. There's some wires right there.
Yeah, that's not good
not to be
either.
a good thing.
No.
And that's another thing too. If wires get damaged, you want to call Intercounty now.
Right. We don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right. So we are in a time of high winds, and I'm just going to bring this out there. I hate to bring it out there. Two things that happen at this time of year. One, winds. Especially this year, we are seeing, and we look at all the damage
know.
that
Yeah.
got done. We were very fortunate. We were on the beginning side of that. Actually, it hadn't even developed yet. It was developing as it came through our area. So, yeah, we got high winds, but nothing compared to what they got in Kentucky and
I know.
and all
Just
those areas. It's just horrible, the
200
damage.
miles of-
yeah, just crazy.
Yeah.
Arkansas came up, just spanked that whole area right through there, left a swath that you don't even want to look at. But it can happen again. And we're going to be having some high winds again this week. If you have an issue with winds and branches do topple,
Right.
things happen, things blow. They get up in the air a little bit with high winds, 35, 40 mile an hour winds. If something gets up in the air, it will go a ways. Sometimes you'll find debris that gets stuck around your electric line.
We had-
Please do not go up
Yeah,
there.
we had a serviceman send a picture in a few years ago. A tarp had blown up and was kind of wrapped up around transformer and the electric lines
There
up
you
at
go.
the top of the pole.
So
So,
exactly
it could
what I'm-
happen.
Yes. So with the high winds, obviously, keep an eye on your lines. They should dangle freely. They should move. They should move with the lines. But if you see one that comes down for whatever reason, do not go out there and want to know if it's live. That's probably not a good thing.
Not a good
Because
idea.
if you want to know if it's live and it is live, you're not going to be alive to talk about it.
Yeah.
So don't do it. And a lot of times that happens in storms. So please be careful with the wet ground out there that can start to radiate. You'll feel it pretty quick once you get close. So that's number one. Number two, it's also icy time.
It is, I know.
And we can get those ice storms, which, Heather, I don't know, you gave me a stat one time about a quarter-inch ice or
Adds
a
5
fifth of an inch of ice or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
A quarter inch adds an extra 500 pounds per span. That's from pole to pole. So it really starts to
What if you have
accumulate
4
weight.
lines on that? Span. 500 pounds per line.
I believe it's 500 pounds per span.
But what if you have 4 lines on it versus 2? I think it's 500 pounds per line on that span.
That was several years ago. We had looked that up.
I know. But I'm thinking,
Yeah.
see, I've seen some of these with 4 lines on them. I thought,
That's
and then
a lot of.
you're starting to see them buckle a little bit. So, yeah, you'll see those poles kind of come together.
Yeah. Huh, and now I'm going to have the song in my head. Yeah, the added weight of the ice really just can have devastating effects on a distribution system. But when we talk about ice, too, a lot of times I think we kind of forget that it can cause vehicle accidents.
Right.
You know, it's not just the actual damage to our infrastructure, but potentially damage because
Hit
of
a
the
pole.
roads being icy and people can hit poles, and we've talked about this plenty of times, but again, the whole safety aspect, whether the line is down in your yard because the ice brought it down in the winter storm or the wind, or because of a vehicle accident, stay away from those poles. They do not have, or the lines, the poles too, but those lines do not have to be arcing and sparking, and TVs really dramatize what a live wire looks like, and that's not always the case. I mean, the system's designed to have safety measures in place that will breakers that'll turn off and power that'll be disconnected, but
There's always that one.
Mother Nature can do some crazy things, and there have been instances where the line's down and live. So stay away from it. Whatever kind of weather has happened that has brought it down, or accident, stay away from those down power lines.
Also, that way can snap poles.
It can snap
Just
poles.
snap them.
Yep.
They've been up there for a few years, and there's always a weak spot in those poles, and if it just happens to be right, it could snap those. If you see that happen or there's damage to the pole from weight from an ice storm, call Intercounty. Do not go out there and try to use nails and tighten it back up, or put a tourniquet on it to hold it up there. Just call them. Let them come out there and check it out.
And they will. I mean, we
Yeah,
have guys
sure.
on call 24/7, nights, weekends, holidays. We want to make sure our members are safe. We want to make sure our distribution system is operating safely. So let us know when you see
Right.
stuff like that.
But one thing I wanted to, with the icy lines, and one thing, and unfortunately I saw some people doing this, and fortunately they walked away from it. Unfortunately, they're not very smart, because they're out there knocking the ice off the lines
Oh my.
with a
What?
long telescopic metal pole.
What? Oh.
Swear to you, I watched it happen. I'm thinking, what are you doing? Knocking the ice so there wouldn't be as much weight on those lines.
That's awful.
Yeah,
That makes
to
me
see
cringe.
the look on
I'm
Heather's
like,
face is like, what? Yeah,
yeah,
they
don't
think
do
they're
that.
doing a favor, but they're jeopardizing their life.
They are. Yeah, it'll. Oh,
And just
I
think-
wish you would have told me that. That's awful. Please don't do that. If you're listening, don't do that.
Come together.
Tell people, tell other people. Did you stop and tell them to knock it off? Well, not. We don't want them knocking it off. But
No, I didn't stop and tell them. I didn't. No, I didn't. I should have. But if you yell somebody like that, they're just basically going to tell you to get
yeah,
where.
I know.
Because they know better. Now,
Or call us and let us know. We'll send a serviceman out to kind of just drive.
it looked like they were
by.
about done with it anyway. But the sad part about it is, even if it's not a metal telescopic pole, because a lot of people do those with scrub brushes so they can scrub their houses and things of that nature. We used to have old wooden, laundry line poles we put up in the air, maybe 8 to 10, 12 feet. That's still not a good idea.
No,
Okay?
don't do that.
You don't want to be doing that stuff. So leave it
Yes,
alone.
absolutely.
So just threw that out there because I saw it happen, and I'm, to this day, you didn't actually see it, so it's not going to be etched in your memory forever.
Oh, I have a picture now. I have a mental image.
Just think of the 25-foot Santa.
I
Okay?
know, right?
That's a much better image. Anyway, but nonetheless, very good. All right, so a lot of different things to think about with Christmas lights, with this time of year, with the winds. People, just to constantly be careful and safe. And that is what we really wanted to bring out. I wanted to bring out for the holidays. Safety first.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that includes all the Christmas lights outside. If you walk outside and your whole yard is lit up with Christmas lights and you've got them on the ground and everything else and they're dark, two things. Number one, hopefully you have a GFCI. Go hit that. If not, go check your breaker. And if it isn't that, then just go pull the plug. Do not mess with those lights.
Yeah.
Especially out in the yard until you can gather them all up, unplug, find the problem, and then put them back down. That would be the best. So one thing I wanted to get a head start on this year, so when we get to February, we're not sitting there begging these juniors
To write an essay.
to fill this essay. And I know you've got the topic already.
I do have the topic.
I knew
It's a good one. It's an easy one, and
I knew you did.
and hopefully we have lots of students participate. Youth Tour is what Stan's talking about, our Youth Tour essay contest. And this year we're asking the kids to write about how they can be more efficient at home. That's it. What are some ways you can be more energy efficient at home? There's not...
No, energy efficient. You said
More
it's
energy efficient. More efficient.
I'm going to say, well, that opens the door to
Yeah.
a lot of different
More
things.
energy
There we
efficient at
go.
home. And it may be ways that individually they can make specific changes. Maybe it's some changes that their entire family can make. But at any rate, it's a very open topic. There's not a ton of research. You can absolutely research
Sure
ways
you
to
could.
be more energy efficient in your home. But a lot of these, I think we're going to see these students share things like, maybe if I did turn my lights off when I left the room like my mom told me to, I could be more energy efficient. It's things that they've probably heard that just maybe help them recognize that they really are in control of making some energy efficient decisions at
Sure.
home, and they can help their family save on energy costs. So I'll be interested to see what kind of ideas we get, and if there's any that stand out that kind of are overlapping and brought up frequently. But that's the topic. How can they be more energy efficient at home?
I like that topic. That's a good one.
And-
You're right. That's a good one.
We are 100%, 100's pretty, that's,
Make it 97 and a half.
yeah.
Yeah.
We are going back to DC in June and cycle those runners up. They will go to the leadership conference in July. We've made some changes, big changes, little changes, but in our ECA, which is our National Cooperative Association, they sort of spearhead that out in DC.
Mm-hmm.
They're changing. The major change is that instead of all 1,500 high school juniors from across the nation coming out 1 week, they're doing it over the course of 2 weeks, and half of those students will come out 1 week and half the other. Now, each state will go, all of the Missouri kids will go at the same time. So Missouri students won't be split up into two groups. All of the Missouri will go at the same
Okay.
time, but not all
Makes
50
sense.
states will be
Yeah.
out there. So right away, that cuts it in half, the attendance of how many students are out there at the same time. Our statewide organization is looking at chartering a plane this year. We'll have around 115, 120 students we're up to, and then chaperones. And that's just going to help with not having to go through all the same airport security and large crowds. So some big changes, small changes. There's going to be some places that we're not able to go into that we've
Sure.
been able to in the past. I mean, the past 2 years we've not been out there, but the few years before that we were able to go and do some White House tours. That's probably going to be off the table. But we're going to get these students back out to the nation's capital. We're still going to have them meet with their legislators. They're
Sure.
still going to get to see the Smithsonian, these major monuments, the Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial, the Vietnam Wall. We want the kids out there. We want them to experience the history of our nation, and that's important. And we've missed that the last few years. Very grateful to our board that we've been able to offer scholarships
Yeah.
in lieu of the trip, but really excited that we're going to be
You can't
back in
replace
DC.
being there.
Absolutely.
You can't replace it.
Right.
And it's been, unfortunately for the winners the last couple of years, it's been one of those.
They don't know what they missed.
Yeah, it's been one of those things that I won, but we couldn't go, and you never know if they'll ever get back.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that if you ever get a chance to, you need, cherry blossoms are beautiful in the spring, but boy, getting there at that time, you got to time it just right.
Yeah.
And good luck finding a room, at that time.
Yeah.
But this is actually more in the summer.
This is
so,
June. Yep.
So this will be a lot better. But there's so much to do, so much to learn. Gosh, you just, envy. You have to envy those kids.
Until you've been there.
Yeah. Well, and even if you've been there, you still don't know. You can be there 10 times. You still have not touched
Yeah.
half of the things that you
Yeah.
can do there.
That's
You
true.
need to get this guide to DC. It's a small book. It's a guide to DC. The problem is it's kind of like the Intercounty book of,
It's a
thing,
lot
very, very small.
packed in a small space.
It has all the different museums, all the different things that are associated with the government that you can go and visit, and it's like 78 pages long, and there's eight to 10 on each page that
That's
you can
incredible.
go to, from FBI museum, mental health museums. There's a bunch of things that you would never associate. Weapons museums.
Right.
It just goes on and on and on. Now you think, well, if I go to Smithsonian, I'll see all that. No.
You're not going to see all the Smithsonian anyway.
You'll get one building in.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get two. But basically, one building a day.
If you go through it.
If you're
Right.
reading the things. But if you're really interested in what you find in there, and those buildings are not small.
They're not. What we try to encourage the kids, because we do spend a good part of a day at the Smithsonian's, we encourage them, what is it that you want to see? Are there a handful of things? Do you want to see the Declaration, but you also want to see Dorothy's Ruby Red Slippers? Find out what
That
you
would
want to
probably
see.
not be number one on my list.
Well, it has been number one
Oh,
on a lot
I'm
of young
sure,
women's
I'm
lists.
Sure.
But
I'm
they're
not a
not
young
near
woman.
as impressive as what you would think. They're kind of disappointing, actually. They're
You
not
think,
ruby
you
red.
think the movie made them sparkle a little bit
Yes,
better?
it did. It absolutely did.
I mean, because they shone that spotlight on there. That made it,
I know. Of course, they are old now, so that probably has something to do with it.
course.
But we encourage the kids.
just because they're 90 years old, you think it
Just-
lost some sparkle?
They have lost a little bit of sparkle.
Okay.
They're still
But they're still
beautiful.
pretty,
They're
though.
still
Yeah.
Dorothy slippers,
Yeah.
and I got to see them. So,
Toto's not there, right?
no. But they pick out a few things that you want to see. Find out which museum they're in. Figure out where that museum's at, and then, it may be their only time they're ever out in DC. And if
Right.
those are the things that are important to them, you're not going to be able to go through the entire museum if
Oh,
you
no.
want to see something from another one. But at least they can get an idea of, I need to go here and look at this, and then I've got to move if I want to hit all these things.
Sure. 3 or 4 floors in those buildings, and every one of them is chock full of different things. And if you read about them, and that's the interesting part, you don't learn about it till you read about it, and then you read it, then you look, and then you read it again, because you read about parts of this, but you have to understand where the display. So it explains each part of the display, and then you're looking at the display and like, wow, and then you read it again. So now you get a better understanding of it. It's pretty incredible, I will say that. Had a chance to do it myself. Got in the introductory building, spent over 2 hours there.
Is that the Red Castle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing there really. I mean, just a few small artifacts, but the reading in there is so interesting. I got stuck in there, and I thought, we hadn't even got started yet. So anyway, but we did the aviation.
Yeah.
That is aviation and space. That's really a pretty cool one. But I mean, I would think every one of those would be incredibly interesting to go through. Very good. All right, so
Great opportunity, though.
It is a great,
Yeah,
but
great
it's
opportunity.
only available for juniors.
It is. And we will be, I used to always say we'll be in the schools after Christmas break. Obviously, we're going to have to play that by ear if we'll be allowed in the schools or if they'll ask us to share this information with them virtually. Not sure how that's going to happen, but we will be contacting the students. We will be making them aware of the essay contests. And like Stan said, it's just for high school juniors. And next year, that opportunity will have come and gone. So please, if you have a junior this year, encourage them to start watching for Intercounty.
Right.
And we're going to have information in the January Rural Missouri magazine, so you can kind of take a look at more details there. But definitely, please encourage them to write the essay. 250 to 500 words.
I was going to say,
Very short.
250,000 words is not what it has to be done. It does not have to be a dissertation,
Right.
a doctorate to win a trip to D.C. 250 to 500 words. And basically about how to be more efficient in your home. How can you be more efficient in your home?
Absolutely. There's things we could all do. I mean, even if you think you've tightened everything up, I'm sure there are ways you can think
You know,
to
I
save.
would love, and I know that it'll be available soon if it's not available. It would really be cool to find out how much energy we each use a day.
What do you mean? Like,
Like how much, okay, for you to get up in the morning, you've got a clock, so the clock might be plugged in. Maybe you have a ceiling fan that's on that whole night. Then you've got maybe you get up and you go turn the light on in the bathroom. The
I mean,
energy
you could find your daily usage. That's easy enough. But you're saying per individual
per
in the home.
individual. How much do you use each day?
Yeah.
Do you have an electric car? You know, that would change the whole complex
would.
of that. When you go to school, do you use your phone? Do you charge your phone? How many times do you charge your phone? Just a phone? Do you have a tablet? Do you have something else? And then when you watch TV or do you stream, and how do you use that? If you just don't use that, when the thing would be using let's say you're using your monitor, which let's say you have on a CPU, well, then you have to have that to Wi-Fi. You got to count the internet connection. So,
Right.
you know, would people actually understand that it's not just, oh, I'm watching it on my monitor. Okay, well, the monitor's plugged in, but it's plugged into a CPU, which is getting Wi-Fi from there.
Right. There's a
So,
lot of.
how much energy are you really using a day? I mean, it would be interesting because I don't think people really realize how much we rely on electricity because we use it every single day.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
You know, but it would be interesting to say if I use 1 kilowatt of power a day, and then you multiply that by 5 billion people.
It's a lot of
That's
electricity.
a lot of energy in it.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting thing. I don't know if it would be something they could ever write about, but it would just be something if you could just tie it to you, how much electric you actually do use. Because as soon as you go to the refrigerator and open it up, now you use electricity. So now the cost of the refrigerator would be part of it. Then you use the oven or stove or microwave.
Starts to add up,
And if
doesn't
it's
it?
hot water and you have an electric water heater. See, all those different things. Probably don't really consider that.
And that's sort of the intention of this topic is we want them to become more mindful. We want them to realize there are ways that I could conserve electricity. And
exactly.
maybe standing there in front of the fridge with it open, waiting for something new to appear. I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe that's not the best way to use electricity in my home.
It's not just a fridge. It's when they open both the fridge and the freezer side.
Well, they don't know what they want, Stan.
Well, I know. Nobody does, right?
Right.
Well, if you really know what you want and you go in there and you know right where it is, that's great. But how many times have you gone to the refrigerator where somebody took, let's say you're going to make yourself a sandwich and you have your cheese here and you've got your meats here and you got your condiments over here and you know exactly where they are and you walk in there and none of them are where they're supposed to be. And now you're pulling drawers out and you're trying to find
You're
stuff. So the
looking.
door's open the whole time, right?
And turns out the teenager ate it all. It's
And
not
it's
there
gone.
anyway.
That's right. It's totally gone.
Yeah.
Not even there anymore. So you know what I'm talking about. And in
Yeah.
the meantime, you're still searching and your door's open. Then you got to figure out what else you're going to have.
Right.
So then you back up and start surveying the
Right.
situation again. So,
I would-
we've all been there, right?
We have, and I really expect to see a lot of little things like that. Make sure the light's off when I leave the room, and don't stay with the fridge open or the front door open. But I'm kind of excited to see the more deep thinkers, what they have to say as far as ideas to conserve. And, I think we'll probably see some where they say, well, maybe I could put all of my electronics on a surge strip so that I can turn it off. Or maybe they'll have a really ingenious way to save electricity. I don't know. We'll see, though.
It'd be interesting.
Yep.
So, juniors, parents of juniors, grandparents of juniors, remind them this will be in February, not January. It's not right now.
Right.
But
Well,
it
in
will.
January, we'll be reaching
You'll
out
be
to them.
reaching
Yeah.
out, but it's
In February, they'll be due.
There'll be a due date at the end of February, some date. They will tell you what date that is, and make sure you get it in on that date.
Yeah.
And homeschoolers are welcome to participate.
They are, and we forget to mention that a lot of
I
times.
just mentioned it. We didn't forget at all.
Yeah. Sometimes I fail to mention that. I should put it that way. But yes, if you are,
wouldn't do that.
if you're not intentionally,
Okay.
if you're a homeschool student, absolutely, you are eligible to participate. You'll just want to check with the high school that
Okay.
you reside in, the district that if you did attend public school, reach out to the counselor or the junior English teacher there to find out that due date, because as Stan mentioned, it'll be the end of February, but each school, we kind of leave that up to them as long as we have the top 3 by March 1st. So find out that due date and turn that into them, and absolutely, you're eligible to participate.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yes.
And we've had homeschool students win the trip to DC before. So I think sometimes they're a little discouraged to participate because they're not part of the school district, but it has nothing to do with the school district. They're sort of our contact person. They're our, can't even think of a good word to compare that to, but
Yeah.
the teachers there, they blind judge those essays. They are numbered, the cover page is numbered, and that number matches up to the essay. So when those essays are judged, they don't know if it's a student or a homeschool student. And then once the top 3 come to Intercounty, their score is based on an interview, and that has nothing to do with what school they attend.
So the only thing we want to make sure is that everybody has the chance.
That's right.
And in years past, we've had people, just maybe 1 or maybe 2 people do this essay. Guys, this is going to take all of 25 minutes to a half hour. Get the essay done. Put it together. Put your thoughts down. You got nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. Nothing.
Well, like you said, what have you invested? 20 minutes?
25 minutes for a trip to D.C.?
Yeah.
Even the cycle trip, that's pretty doggone impressive, too. So 25 minutes for that, either one would be a very minimal investment to spend.
And even if, say, you don't make top 3, you've not invested a ton of time and effort. So you don't have to.
So if you didn't make the top 3, okay, so maybe you wasted 20 minutes. If
Right.
you did make the top 3 and you get
That's
a chance.
a good return.
Yeah, it's a heck of a good return. Especially if you're going to D.C. You're really, that's like going to Vegas and winning big time.
Big time.
Yeah, that's an incredible experience, and it's free.
It is.
Of course, you can bring your own spending money. You want to go buy some souvenirs and other things of that nature, but free travel, free room, free board, free.
Meals, your meals are covered.
Free.
All of it. That's good. You can't get much better than that.
You can't get much better than that. That's like Christmas in June.
It is. That's a big time Christmas.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyways, I'm first off glad to have that back
Me
into
too.
the fold. And second of all, it's just a fantastic program that I wish would have been around when I was a youngin'. I think I might have tried that one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Anyway, I was in St. Louis, and they don't have a co-op either, so kind of ruins that idea. And Union Electric / Ameren did not have
I was
going
to say, I doubt those investor-owns offered
They do
something
not.
like that.
Anyway, but nonetheless, it's an outstanding opportunity for the youngsters, juniors only.
That's right.
Okay, juniors only. And again, if they have any questions, check the Rural Missouri coming out in January. It'll have information there. Or, as Heather said, whether they make presentations at the school or contact the counselors that will be in charge. And you can just call whatever school district you're in and find out about that. Obviously, Salem R80, Licking, Bunker, wherever you might, well, not Bunker, that's Black River.
Yeah.
Sorry, went
That's
the wrong
okay.
direction. St. James, that direction, you're good.
Right.
You know, so if you're over in Rolla, that area, that's where you attend school. Be looking for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's going to be in the announcements. I'm sure it'll be in there. I'm sure you can contact the counselor of your choice, and they can let you know once January hits and they got more information. And before you get started writing, it'll be good to go. Know what you have to do.
Right.
It's pretty simple.
Good stuff.
That's great, good stuff. You got anything else besides Roundup today and your Christmas party?
Nope. That's going to round out the
pretty
day.
well round up the whole day, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Santa coming? You don't know
Today?
if Santa. Well, your party.
I don't know. I don't think we have a Santa coming.
What?
I know.
You can't have a Christmas party without Santa. Oh,
Yeah.
gotta have Santa.
I don't know.
Huh. Who's going to give out the gifts to everybody?
We're doing a gift exchange. We bring our own gift and then we swap.
Bring your own gifts so you can
So
open
we're
it
all
up.
Santa.
Oh, look what I got.
Yes. There will be tons of Santas.
Secret Santas.
That's right.
Is that a secret Santa?
No, it's just like a white elephant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Very good. Well, you have a great time.
Yeah.
Don't forget Operation Roundup. Don't forget about that. That's there for you. And, of course, if you have any questions about that, you can always just call your friends at Intercounty. But today is the day they meet. Remember to get your application in before the end of the month for the next month's judging, so they can get in touch with you and they can figure out,
That's right.
if you qualify and if everything works out, and they can help.
Yeah. So give us a call if you have any questions about that or really anything that we talked about today. The toll-free number is 866-621-3679.
They can also go online.
They can. Our website is www.ieca.coop.
Made my payment yesterday on my Smart Hub.
Look at you go. Good job,
I
Stan.
did. Got the bill, paid it. Smart Hub.
Good stuff.
I did. I don't know about good stuff, but
Well,
it's convenient.
good.
I was going to write a check, leave it for you. I thought, no, I'll just pay it online. I already had to go pay another one online, so I thought, well, I'm already there.
Yeah.
How easy is it?
Super easy.
Pretty
Very
easy.
convenient.
Pretty easy to do. Okay, very good. Again, Heather, thank you for coming in. You
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
a wonderful Christmas and New Year's, you and the little ones.
I
Not
know.
so little anymore.
They're not
They're
so little.
getting bigger.
I know.
You let them grow up.
I've almost got 2 teenagers.
Oh,
That's
my.
terrifying, isn't it?
Well, not for me. Maybe for you, but not for me so much until they start driving, and then it might be a worry for me.
Yeah.
And they're not that far from it, are they?
No,
Yeah.
she's got her permit. She's been driving me everywhere. She's doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's,
She's more cautious.
Okay.
The next one might be.
might be a little more scarier.
Might be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all right. You gotta learn sometime.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. But again, our friends in Intercounty have always been a very good supporter of us, and they want to support you as well, and help you in any way you can. So if you have questions, you need information, if you've got something out there that doesn't look right, don't hesitate. Give them a call. The worst thing that they'll tell you is everything's fine.
And we would rather tell you everything's fine
Yeah.
over and over
Sure.
than not have something
Because a
reported.
lot of times you guys can check a line and say, I got some blinking on my line going on right now. Well, then you guys can check that right there from the office and say, we are not getting that. Then there might be another issue that you have in your home.
Right.
At least take one thing out of the equation, right?
Right. We want to help.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. They're
Just call
fantastic
us.
people. Easy to get along with. And they're funny. A lot of them are funny.
I'm not very funny.
Well, you're
but,
not funny. Well, I didn't
but,
accuse you
but
of
yeah,
that,
we
but-
do have
Got some funny people.
We've
Remember
got some-
Tony? He's kind of funny.
Yeah, we've got some really great employees. And funny or not, they want to help. I want to help, okay? I may not be funny, but I'm helpful.
They're festive right now.
We
Today
are.
they
Yeah,
got a
there
party,
you go.
so they're going to be festive today. Call them today. Be a good day to get the festive in, right?
That's not
No
till
doubt about
afterward.
it. Heather, thanks again for
Yeah,
coming in.
thank you.
Here on KSMO Radio. It's our Intercounty Tuesday. It's every second Tuesday. I know we limit Heather to about 15 minutes, but then she just continues to talk on for another hour after that. So we just don't know what else to do. So we appreciate her coming in and look forward to seeing them in 2022.
That's right.
Going to be the last one for this year. We really appreciate it. Stick around. We got civic happenings coming up in a moment.
KSMO Salem.
I haven't really woken up until